What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Psychedelic Light Show review. I'm your host, Steve Pavlovsky. I'm here with my co-host, Chris Samardizch, and we have a really, really cool show today, one that I've really been looking forward to. We have Reed Banals of LookSee Light Show and Donovan Drummond of LightsOut Light Show. Now, this is a really special show because these guys, besides their long history and things that they've done in light shows, they are the founders of the Psychedelic Light Show Preservation Society. And this is really an incredible group. I wouldn't be here where I am without it. It's like probably the best central hub online for people who do light shows. And it's really cool. And it's really just responsible for a lot of the renaissance that's currently going on in light shows as well, and maintains the history and all that stuff. So we're really lucky to have them. And welcome, guys. This is actually our first time actually talking as well after all these years. So really looking forward to this. And thank you for coming on the show.
Okay, so we're basically, these guys were both in the Bay Area. Donovan came from San Jose area and worked up in San Francisco, and Reed lived in San Francisco for many years, and they both started doing light shows in around sometime in the 80s. And Donovan was doing punk rock stuff at the Mabuhay Garden as a musician previous to him becoming a light show artist. And so what was going on in the 80s with the rock scene was it was like big giant stages with Michael Jackson and Whitesnake and all this kind of Van Halen stuff. And that was kind of like the mainstream that was going on. And it just made, the underground start to happen. It made the alternative rock started to happen. All of a sudden bands like Testament and Mr. Bungle and thrash metal, even like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and they started coming out of the woodwork, and then eventually it turned into grunge. Okay, so the nightclub that sort of spawned all that, I would say, was the Kennel Club, and that's where Jerry Abrams set up his light show, and all three of us worked there off and on. But Reed was kind of the main guy there, as far as I'm concerned. And then the other thing was, previous to that, I just want to mention this because people have asked about it. Jerry did shows at the Underground, which was like the all-night kind of, stimulant club. And then Brother Ed and Pete Rabinowitz were doing shows at the Mabuhay, and it was more like a hard rock kind of club at that point. And so we're going to kick on the slideshow and let our guests
let them
talk. Okay.
Let's see. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves a bit or say anything before we start?
Yeah.
Reed?
Okay. I stepped into light show completely by accident. I was working as a darkroom tech for printing industry. So I had like Codaliths just like laying around.
Nice. Yeah.
And I bought my first overhead projector as a sign maker, so I could like enlarge things. So I really didn't do that. Plus, at night I was like roadieing bands. I knew all these musicians. I knew every nightclub. I knew the stage manager. So suddenly one day I realized I had all the spare parts that fit something else that was light show. So this is the obvious next evolution of just reutilizing the stuff I already had, Nice. Plus at the same time, every school and library was like, it was VHS and DVD, and they were just chucking out films and slide projectors and filling dumpsters full of it. And so it was a real easy startup, and it just became like my next evolutionary step. Okay,
nice.
So it's kind of serendipitous.
And what year would you say that was in?
Mid 80s, early 80s, mid 84, awesome. 5, something like that. I don't know.
Wow.
Okay, Donovan.
Eventually,
my twin and I, we were identical twin singers, and we tooled around in the bands until about maybe around 86, 87. And by then rap seemed more punk rock than punk rock was at that stage. So he sold his guitar and amp and bought turntables and a mixer. And between us, we would control all you see and hear, really, because he'd do the sound and I'd be doing the vision.
Wow.
Some of our early, our early posters and stuff were like, we followed the film where our whole idea was we threw parties like Chet did, where it was like the best sound system we could get, and with the killer light show, and we'd tell all of our friends. I guess maybe it was from watching too much Our Gang when we were little kids or something, but we were always like, we put on a show to save the day, basically. And we still do that. It's it evolved mostly kind of very organically. I had projectors too for the same reason. I helped my friend do San Jose had a redevelopment thing going on, and we do murals outside of the building sites. And so I had the overheads, and one of my friends came out one night, and we were smoking a joint when I was doing it. And he said, "Hey, could you help me out when my band plays, and maybe shine some stuff behind us tonight?"
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah.
So I said, "Yeah, sure." And that was at the Oasis, their gig. And Kevin Murphy, they were like, "This band sucks, but we like what you do," And I thought, well, there's people might get tired of looking at some girl's butt sometime. I was wrong, but because people will never get tired of that. But basically, I started working there in the Cactus Club and this converted Pussycat Theater that had become a nightclub. And next thing I know, I was like kind of fully doing light shows 5 nights a week within a year or two.
All right, let's kick in this
Awesome.
slideshow,
Cool.
guys.
When Donovan and I met, we realized we both worked for both the Oasis clubs, the one in San Francisco, as well as the one in San Jose. And at the time, this was a little later, like in 91 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a beautiful venue there because they had this upstairs and a outdoor upstairs, and the building next door had a 3-story white wall of the building next door. So my best promotional offer ever was this outdoor billboard at 11th and Howard, which was like South of Market Central. And I could have never asked for a better advertising opportunity than to do this outdoor light show on this wall.
Oh.
Kitty corner from Slim's, down the road from DVA. The Stud was over there. The Paradise Lounge was there. The whatever,
Oh, wow.
like all up and down the street. Bill Graham's office was like, half a block down the way or the other way. So I was like,
The
Awesome.
Oasis, the thing about the Oasis is they both had swimming pools.
How did that happen?
Wait,
Okay, so
really?
let me kick in
All
this
right.
show, guys. So you guys all are kind of like, I consider us all from the streets. We're not like suburban guys that want jet skis. You know what I mean? We were like into doing light shows and kind of guerrilla style. So it's the guerrilla street light show, guys, is kind of the format here. Okay, let's see if we can get this thing rolling here. Okay, share and boom. Okay, so here we go. The first thing we're going to hit, this is just tells the story of, you guys mixing shows, and, freaks are welcome, right? Okay, so now this one's Donovan right here. This was your band, Donovan, right here. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah. We were, we were the second generation of the punk thing, really. We came in, we were the kids from the suburbs that came in and wrecked it for all the old schoolers. We also brought in a lot of fresh energy into the whole thing too, but definitely we played with all the bands of the day and had a very fiercely DIY ethic about it, because really no one wanted, we started doing punk shows because no one would have us play in their clubs, really. So, especially in San Jose, there weren't even nightclubs at the time when we were doing that. So we'd have to rent halls and do that.
What was the name of your band?
Our band was called Ribsy, named after the dog in the Beverly Cleary stories.
And
Beverly Cleary, she just died recently, a couple of days ago at 104.
And Mabuhay Gardens was like the place to play in San Francisco. It was just awesome.
And the Elite Club was really the place to play. Which became the Fillmore, again,
right.
It was the Fillmore, then became
next door to it, right. That was the Jim Jones place. Okay, let's hit this next.
No, that's wrong. That was People's Temple.
That was the Temple.
A different one.
People's Temple.
The Elite Club was the Fillmore before they.
Before the Fillmore.
Called the Elite Club
in '84 and all that.
Very briefly, yes.
Very briefly. Okay, I didn't know that. So the Fillmore opened up as the Elite Club. Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so
Paul Ratt was doing the shows there.
Okay, so now you guys all sort of graduated and went to the Kennel Club, and there it is. on what street was it on? Divisadero.
It is.
Yeah.
Chris, I have a Mabuhay story.
Okay.
All right.
Go for it, guys.
Well, I want to say that part of my influence and what led me to Light Show was seeing a band called Tuxedo Moon at the Mabuhay with a filmmaker, like Winston Tong was the performance artist as well as a singer in this band. They had a non-musical member of their band named Bruce Geldig, who did film for their show. They had a drum machine, so they were boring to look at. So they used, like, these art school kids at the time were kind of rediscovering Light Show in a whole new way that wasn't from the rock and roll hippie tradition. And it very much influenced me.
They started projecting because the band
medium, you know.
And they got a light show because they weren't fun to look at, or they were boring. Because that's actually why I started doing light shows.
Wait,
They were all
let me
art
back this
school.
all up. I want to
They
say
went to the
what
Art
happened
Institute.
in San Francisco in 1980 was the Sex Pistols played Winterland.
Right.
They tore the building down. The album-oriented rock station KSN went off the air and became a country western station, and everybody I knew got a haircut. So it was kind of a complete do-over. And San Francisco needed a kind of start over with the new wave and the punk rock and a lot of things. So what was a lot associated with Light Show was nostalgia. It was a flashback. It was not contemporary.
Right.
So many of us went on to like go back to the fundamentals.
Right.
Okay.
Projected visual art and kind of rediscover it all over again.
Oh,
You know?
right on.
So it wasn't until I met Jerry like 4 years later that I even began to understand there were hundreds of other people who were doing this in other ways
Right.
as well. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Okay. So what Jerry did was he built a loft in the Kennel Club, and he kind of made a model like the Fillmore West, and he put in screens in and everything. And this is a shot of his setup that you guys ran when you were there and you guys are all into like film and slides more than liquids, correct? Take it away.
that's true.
Yeah.
I'm a film guy for sure.
Yeah.
When I started, it was the liquids and stuff because I got interested in it. I'm like, I was born in the summer of love or whatever. And, my parents, they were at Monterey Pop or whatever. And seeing that film inspired me. It kind of stuck in the back of my head,
Yeah.
And so I remember watching the credits and just being blown away and thinking like, wow, how the hell is that done? And eventually I had to figure it all out.
Yeah.
I think that at the time there wasn't very many examples of people doing visuals to even learn from. The Kennel Club thing was probably the first place I got to meet a few other like artists doing what I had been working on for a few years. I would try to piece like sort of back engineer how I thought things were done, but I was mostly wrong.
Okay, so then the Kennel Club.
Well, actually, okay. But you have a lot of this stuff, right, Donovan? You have a lot of Jerry's equipment. So you said like, what's the state of it? Is it various states of functionality? Is it like?
Well, I have those two overheads up and running nicely currently.
Nice.
I have like 8 or 9 of his 16 millimeter projectors that I'm not going to take on because I actually like having I like the video better because at this point a lot of that gear's really old and the film's old and I can't even buy splicing tape that has any stick to it.
Yeah, you can break it too.
I mean, and I don't have a person who's a good tech on the 16 millimeters, although Laura or one friend may be able to help me out with that.
Laura Varga, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
Those
to me, the immediacy of the video, I can have a much larger sort of library to work from and a thumb drive.
Right.
Than I could ever bring out with me there.
Of course.
In those days.
No, I hear you.
And you also have the slides, right? You have like those famous slides that were on in the Monterey Pop.
All the title slides of the bands, except for the Grateful Dead, because they're that got stolen by a deadhead, I'm sure. But we have a lot of it still together. We have the films and his the masters for he made all the loops from Abstro 1 and 2, and we're gonna a project coming up is going to be he made a film of the strike. It's kind of an artistic
really?
impression
wow.
of the light show strike that happened at the end of the 60s there.
Yeah.
And
wow.
And that's something we I don't know if we'll maybe do a GoFundMe or something for that. I don't know.
Yeah. That
But,
sounds like a great idea.
But it's a nice little piece of film that we have the the master for it, which basically it's sitting there right now. But basically I like the video. It's like, we all love the Wright brothers airplane, but we don't fly in it anymore.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's a great
That's how I
analogy.
look at it. I mean, for spiritual reasons, I like to have some real overhead projectors or a slide projector or two out there that we use. Because to me, what's more important is the immediacy of a human being who's listening to the music, doing something in time with it. And you can tell that a human's actually working it and thinking why they're doing it.
Right.
That's, to me, is more important than whatever the gear is.
Sure.
Yeah. Whatever you got, you can work with. I'm going to jump over.
And that's always been my motto is I want to use whatever I can use to give the best show possible.
Really good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to this one. Now, so what happened was there was these bands like Nirvana were there, or the Rollins Band, but you guys also had DJs, and you had like World Beat Night and stuff like that.
Doug actually turned me on to the reggae back when he curated a movie night for the midnight movies, even a decade before this, which was.
But the thing, I mean, these bands were great and all, but what drove that club was like these dance shows, like 4 nights a week, right?
Well, that was Page Hodel in the Box. I mean, actually, Doug kind of came on to the Kennel Club later.
Okay, let's just
did I hear correctly that one of you guys did Nirvana, or is that
No,
legend?
they did. It
No,
was
never
there.
did.
Yeah, the club I worked at in San Jose, the Cactus Club, on the same tour, they played with them there, and there was 13 people there, and I bought a T-shirt from them because it was cool. The Satan
wow.
worshiping,
Wow.
fudge packing motherfucker from hell tour. Good stuff.
I
You
have
saw him.
nothing nice to say about Courtney Love.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just a light show that you guys, somebody, Jerry or you or somebody
I
did there.
had no idea.
And now here's a poster. This is some pretty heavy bands that were there. I mean, Jane's Addiction. Okay, they're huge. And then we got the Flaming Lips. And then what's this middle one? Tell me about that, you guys, because you gave me that
Galaxy
poster.
500. That's what's his name? Elliot Smith, who's was from Portland. They were a band from Portland, actually, that was pretty good at the time.
Who was that?
The Sea Hags were a band that was part of the scene.
Oh yeah, I
yeah.
dug the Sea Hags. Yeah, I did light shows with them. They were cool. I liked them a lot. They were
they're great.
They were real rocking. Too bad.
Yeah, I've seen those guys.
Yeah,
And I see Jerry Abrams has his name on the bill here, actually.
Actually, I did that show, and it was a very good show. It's one that was memorable of the many, many, many shows I did there.
Okay, cool. And now this is what it looked like at the Kennel
Club. An interesting thing about the Kennel Club, before it was the Kennel, it was called the Biz. And Paul Renna, who went on to do Mr. Floppy's Flophouse in Oakland at George's place out there, he booked the shows at the Biz. So the kind of Mr. Floppy's was one of the very first rave things that Phyllis did, was the main thing for that, but we were involved with that. So it kind of just evolved out of the whole punk thing,
Okay.
That was, a few years before it became the Kennel. But, sort of different people who were involved with the scene end up bouncing around and their roles in the different venues, it seems, too.
Okay, this next shot is, I don't know where Reed went, but this next shot is what the Kennel kind of looked like. I don't think this is the Kennel, but it was like this. It was just a thrash crowd. And then back here, Jerry had built this giant platform. Oh, there you are, Reed. And that you were doing the light show up there, right? And now, Reed, why don't you tell us about the second generation light show crew that worked with Jerry and you? Tell us about this.
Well, I want to rewind this a whole lot, because this photo is really early on, Jerry. Later, they built us a custom balcony.
Right. I don't have a picture of that. So.
And we skipped we skipped like 5 years of my career. I joined the Jerry Abrams light show about 5 years into my other stuff. Maybe we can talk about that some other time. But what I learned from the Kennel Club is I didn't have to load a show in and out every night, and that
Yeah.
having a permanent installation there was
Oh, wow.
a wonderful thing, because you could focus on the creativity and the artwork and the collaboration and other aspects of doing a light show besides having to plug it in and make it all work. You
Yeah.
know?
Oh,
Which
yeah.
is
Yeah.
sometimes half the work.
Absolutely.
What I really learned there was how to improvise and work in an ensemble, because prior to that, I've been more like a director of my own scripted creations, you know, and it was a wonderful experience. Actually,
Yeah.
the bread and butter there was Paige Hodell's Box, which was a early on like house mix style DJ dance night that was open to, it was billed as gay and lesbian. It was really just a really fun night for everybody, because billing it that way just scared away a lot of the, a lot of the dance nights were just like pickup and meat market racks. So like it was a really
Right. So it scares away that kind of crowd and
unstressful,
keeps more of the freaks coming.
enjoyable evening without
Yeah.
half the security. You know what I mean?
Sure. That's great. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So it was a really fun night. It grew and evolved. We eventually added like 2 side screens to the main back screen, that like there was like an in-house dance troupe that would like get up behind these shadow screens and like do like interactive visuals with our projections. Like we do like that classic Scott Bartlett flying bird loop, and like the dancer would be like trying to like, you know, catch it while she was like backlit with it. So it was just a really exploratory, wonderful night where you could just like, I really honed my craft there at Jerry's expense in a lot of ways.
Okay,
it was a really wonderful experience. But I learned the long format dance night experience, which is kind of a different format than doing like a band set where you're clicking off songs and you got 3 to 5 minutes to say something, where you have a whole evening's worth of time to evolve it in more of a curve of like, we're going to start slow, we're going to pump up the volume, we're going to like bring it in for a landing kind of a set. That's really different than doing like bands, you know?
Right.
Absolutely.
How long did the setup last for? Like this, that you know, because there's very few like venues that had a permanent setup. It's pretty cool.
Well, I don't know.
You guys
Things
had one.
happen. I mean, Jerry and Paige were both really alpha personalities, and eventually that didn't work out. But when she moved over to City Nights, I went with her and did her show for another 2 years over there.
Okay.
And the queue at the Townsend as well.
Yeah. Right.
I used Jerry's gear when I did this Melvin show. I did a couple of them there. That was great. You know, I just roll in with my plates and
we did bands there, but
great.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
I just said I got to use Jerry's gear, which was really nice of him and you guys to let me come in and do a set, you know, with my band, Melvin's. And then I used your slide projectors. I just brought slides and plates. It was great. And
awesome.
Let's see. And then you guys did this show, which is, this is from the video. And you and Jerry did this show with the Mud Honeys. And it was an awesome show.
Did.
It was awesome. I remember it. It was really a killer.
Okay. Thank you.
I went to that show.
It's kind of a blur for me. I did so many shows there. I mean, I did hundreds of shows there. Some were better than others. Some were more memorable than others.
Okay.
I mean, like a band, like Thursday night was like kind of band night, because the weekends were like more like the dance bread and butter gigs.
Yeah.
So like, it's like the band would come in and go like, you want it with or without? And like bands would go like, yeah, I'll have a light show with that. And I'd go like backstage and go like, you got a set list or something? And they were like, here's a list of songs. I'm like, that means nothing to me. I'm like going like color code them, or give me like, you know, major, minor, and something, you know?
Yeah. So
like,
were you guys
Flaming Lips was fun, because they were like I just met these guys. I'm backstage with them. They're like, here, you want a beer? I'm like, I don't know. It's like here's our set list. I'm like, it's like, just don't show. They gave me a no list. It's like no crucifixes, no death, no this, no that. And it was like, and like go. And it was really fun because bands would give me liberty.
Right.
No peace signs.
No, it was a real learning experience, and it was a challenge, because like, how am I going to make the best of this. So you kind of go with the inertia, the momentum, the spirit of it, and improvise. And that's what I really learned at the Kennel Club.
Wow.
Like how to bake it.
So Donovan, what
certain
shows
way,
did
you
you
know?
do there? You did some bands there. correct?
I came in there to do a film with Neurosis, which
Oh,
that
right.
was a big show there at the time. And a guy in San Jose who started doing light shows a couple years after me, named Simon McElroy. He had designed a light show for their live performances, and I gave him film portions and stuff like the endoscopy film and things that would have scared people at the disco a little too much. Some of the more hardcore parts were me and a guy named Adam Kendall contributed a whole bunch of the artwork, and Simon really designed their show, but he played keyboards for him, so he couldn't really do both, play keyboards and do the light show at the same time. So they had a roadie, and I came in there for that one there. I mostly came to the Kennel Club observing, because Jerry was a friend, and Reed and Josh and Phyllis and the whole crew there, and little Jerry. And but I would usually be working somewhere else most of those nights. I missed most of the good shows there and all that because I was doing a disco gig on the, some other location.
Were you guys able to earn a living off just light shows at this time?
Oh, absolutely, I did.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did. I probably had a 5 to 7 year career where I was probably working 3 nights a week.
Yeah.
And
I was like 5 and 6
pretty
nights
much
a week
became
for
a
a year.
primary.
Oh man, you guys are
Became a primary
living the
occupation.
dream. That's
Yeah, no,
awesome.
these two
yes
guys
and
were
no.
made a living. These guys
yes
made
and
a
no.
living.
Wow.
And like I remember one Halloween,
didn't-
I worked I was triple booked on Halloween and
Whoa.
managed to have enough projectors to be able to pull it off and enough hands to help me.
Wow.
I still have heebie-jeebies at setup time every Saturday night going like, why am I not working? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to do with myself anymore without all the work, actually. Yeah, I mean, then the nightclubs and then the raves started happening, the after hours things too. It became like, I definitely, and because I could work, I'd do things for all kinds of different styles. One night I'd be doing an industrial thing. It'd be like top 40 another night, and then, other bands after that.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember taking at one point, it's a big cut in pay usually to work with a band for me.
Mhm.
hey, Chris, those are some really nice photos that Allison took of the box. And those are the side screens with the dancers and the shadow interplay.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
put the laser
Interaction that
put the
we
laser
managed
pointer
to
on it. You can
create.
kind of
Right
see
here.
it.
Yeah. Right in here.
And
Yeah.
at
Those
the,
are
and the
great.
top
Experience.
and the top
Like
row
we had
too,
two
right?
side screens on the side,
can't-
and the shadow,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
dancers would interact
Yeah.
with the visuals in a very
Yeah.
creative
There's a
way.
screen. Up
Oh
there.
wow,
that made it
yeah,
really fun.
that's cool.
Yeah. Not too many shots. I'm just going to go this
Allison
one really
Black.
quick. This is kind of a lame shot, but at
Photos
least you
by
can see
Allison Black.
the giant screen that Jerry had. He had a big, Muslim screen in there, which was awesome on stage.
Are we not
So I just-
fire
I just
marshal
want-
approved?
Yeah. Okay. So do you want to go to this visual here that I think this one, how's that? We ready to go there?
Yeah.
Well, that's a really nice photo of I basically staged that for a magazine interview that I was doing in the early
Okay.
90s. But that represents my light show very, very well. A very organic look.
Mhm.
I mean, imagine that sort of like fading in and out and undulating, and maybe like a film loop over here in the dark spot over there,
Yeah.
Right.
maybe some liquids all filling out the black, the negative space or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that represents.
We're from the backyard, right?
That's what I look. Yeah, I look like that.
Right, and this is a collage of just slide projectors, right, or slides
Yeah.
that you
It
have.
is. That's probably
Yeah.
1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4, 5 slide images, and
Yeah.
2 of them are stock, and the rest are like original
Wow,
photos. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's cool.
that-
and
yeah,
I
I
imagine
like-
you had like wheels and things in front of them, and
Yeah, I had a big budget, and I traveled to Easter Island that year to take that photo.
oh, right. Tax write-off, right? Okay, so we go number of places to go. We could go with the merman poster, or we could go with this black and white thing that you guys did together. Which one
What's
do you
that?
want? I'll
Let
show
me see
you.
the black and white one. What's
There
that?
it is.
Oh,
Okay.
that was fun.
Okay. Talk about that one. Your
Well,
names are both on it.
David Richardson was an important personality in the early rave scene. He was had an outfit called Hyperdelic Video. He was from Australia. He immigrated from Japan. He landed on the coast with Psychic TV on their tour. And became a citizen. He was a mainstay in the early rave scene, and we worked side by side for many years, and had some partnerships and other projects. And one of the other projects was this musical incarnation where Dave and I recorded some music, and I think
And Donovan was doing visuals on this?
all the CDs. So what we tried to do is, as it says here, was take these sort of rave chill room. There was always the main dance room, but there was always kind of like the second chill room, which more ambient music, more relaxing, maybe some beanbag chairs and stuff. So we tried to recreate this in an art gallery situation. This is an art gallery show.
Okay, cool, awesome.
And actually, I have the audio recording from it, which I've been using on some of my video posts lately.
And
I think that definitely
it was a great collaborative. It was a beautiful collaborative. I still talk to Chris. He lives in Portland now.
and he still does some things that's hyper delicious, right?
Art of High.
Oh,
That
okay. Oh, yeah.
evolved.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
And John, he does the body synth. This guy, he's a dancer who also has a venue in town. And it's the body synth. It was like a leotard with MIDI triggers in it that he would dance around with, and that would cause the sounds that were happening as part of it. Which that was the other act, which was,
and there was a lot of stuff going on at the time. I did like gallery shows like Minna and like this one and several others. I mean, I did corporates. There's a lot of directions we could go with this conversation.
yeah,
Like corporate gigs.
well, that's why you guys are making a living.
Art installations and
okay, so you want to talk
it wasn't
about
all just bands. It wasn't all just bands and dances.
Yeah.
You want to go to the Merman or do you want to go to Toontown?
Let's talk about the Merman for a minute.
Okay, there's your Merman. Beautiful poster. Talk about it.
That is a lovely poster. Frank Kozak is, I admire him. I worked in silkscreen and printmaking for a while, so I appreciate a good poster when I see one. Okay.
Okay, now just for the viewers, I'm going to tell this is like a surf band, the Merman. They're like, Dick Dale meets Jimi Hendrix, right?
I did a lot of work with instrumental bands because they didn't have a lead singer and they wanted visuals,
Right.
That happens a lot, and long instrumental jams like go wonderful with visuals. So you couldn't ask for a better band. Couldn't ask for a better band to work with, This party was kind of special. I had known their bass player for several years through other associations with PFS, which we kind of skipped over earlier. He was their secret bass player. Anyway, I got invited to do this show, a Ranger John production. This was like a party for and by the park ranger police that worked the GGNRA, Alcatraz, Golden Gate Recreation Area. Basically, it was the party you couldn't get a permit to do. If you were a raver on the beach, you couldn't get a permit to do this party. So they threw a party for themselves. What was important about this night was it's the night I met Chet Helm. He was there and watched my show and really enjoyed it and was invited to continue on and join the Maritime Hall that he was reforming and putting together at that time. So that was significant to me, as well as actually, Chris, while you were on tour with Almonds, you put me together with Brian Epps.
Right.
And Matt Godfrey as an ensemble.
Right.
So
You guys
for Brotherhood Light. So we were kind of the other Brotherhood of Light while you were like off on the run. And so you put us together with these guys, which we did, we must have done 8 or 9 shows together.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm
glad Brian Epps was a wonderful liquid artist. And I was not a liquids guy, but I always was eager to invite and hire or involve a talented liquid artist because I knew they were just better than I was. because I was too busy doing all the rest of it, you know.
And we
Yeah, that was a
mentioned
wonderful show.
we've mentioned Brian Epps earlier in the shows. I'm going to do this picture of you. It's kind of funny if you don't mind, but it shows all the different shows you did, which is, I mean, these are all posters from events you did. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's and that's all ones I
about
did.
half.
And that's
That's not even half of them.
One thing
I was
that's
very
important is we would do a lot of shows together rather than like, I don't know, we had like, we all worked really well together and stayed in good contact all the time. And when we had a promoter that was going to maybe spend a little bit more money, we would bring in other shows that we know did a good job and that were part of the crew, so to speak. That would be being like the Pure guys and Josh and me and you and you know, Walter, of course, and
Right, Walter.
a few other folks. And basically, so sometimes a lot of times at a big venue like the Concourse or the Fashion Center or at those type of parties, there'd be like three of us light shows all jamming together on it, which
Awesome.
kept the bar really high, I think, for the quality of the shows, because we would all be kind of working to outdo each other a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, there was a great scene happening in the 90s. Let's see.
We did. We really pulled it together. We brought it kind of out of the dark in a way through like
At least
the
in San
punk
Francisco
rock,
too.
the performance art, the underground theater, and all these elements came together. The multi-image, the slide projection, the surplus gear, and all that kind of really came together in a way where
great,
right about the
great
time
resurgence
that the underground dance scene took off. So it was really just good timing in a lot of ways.
Here's a couple shots here. I don't know.
That's 3 a.m. in West Hollywood, just by the way. That photo.
Well, earlier you said you wanted to show it, so I don't know.
I think it's funny. Yeah.
But we can go back to the Toontown. Let's just talk about that a little bit, because that was a kind of a big event that you did after the kennel, right?
This photo, the 5-foot Tong, was pretty interesting because there was an established adult underground late night dance scene in San Francisco at the time, as well as this sort of imported new kind of house music ravers scene that was taking off in San Francisco. And this event, the Hollow Rave, was kind of a joining of the two tribes. So culturally, in a way, it was pretty interesting because this kind of crew of like Joe and Marcia at the Climate Theater and Anon Salon was part of that whole underground vibe that kind of like really blossomed into what became Burning Man, you know? I mean, it was like that underground scene that really kind of came out from the underground. And this was kind of one of the parties I consider kind of pivotal in that happening. This was quite a collaboration. I worked with Phyllis and my friend Robert, and I worked with I forget, you're kind of covering the rest of the billing there, but it was a long time ago.
That is so cool, man. And you guys did all that. I mean, that's really saying something.
Yeah.
Okay. So
real quick. Well, the other one, the other poster on the left says Light Show by Fly by Light. I feel like I've heard that name. Who is that?
Well, that's Walter. That's Walter. I met Walter at the Townsend one night. He was doing a slideshow for a band called Tasty Box. And then it turned out, like, after talking to Walter, that I kind of already knew him from Friends of Friends of Friends. It was like Preston from Toontown's like brother, like had the warehouse space down the hall from the Underground Opera Company, which I did like programmed like scenery for, and it's just all clicked and connected. Okay, so I fell in with Walter and just became part of his crew.
Yeah, Walter used to come out and coach us.
We haven't talked about the Light Show Guild yet, but at the time it was kind of like I had my show. It's like, hey, Donovan, you working tonight? He's like, no, you want to be part of my show? I'm like, cool, we'll do my show. Donovan like calls me up. It's like, you working tonight? I'm like, no. He's like, here, come do my show. So I'll be like Donovan's show. So we all kind of crewed for each other, but it was like, whose show are we doing? So like, I'll call the shots.
At one point we had like crates of projectors at most of the major venues and all the and screens under the stage everywhere too. Like if you'd go in the Tuxedo or
that venue, he had the lenses that fit that throw. We collaborated and like shared equipment and talent and a pickup truck or whatever it took to get things done sometimes. Anyway, that was a really fun night up in Petaluma at the Mystic, which is a great setup. There's a brew pub next door. There's an old theater, like an old downtown movie theater space that was set up as a band space. It had a beautiful balcony. One of these two nights, the 26th, Glenn McKay was the guest Liquids guy on that show, along with like Hugh Romney's son Jordan was part of that crew at the time, and I can get the Greg was sitting at Greg Allman was sitting at the bar next door, going like he had maybe one too many, and like he's going like, "Come on, you guys, I really want to jam tonight. Can I really sit in?" I'm like, I don't know, Greg. No, you're all right. You okay? It's like, well, I don't know. But he did. Greg Allman did come on and do like a guest song or two that night. But it was funny watching them dialogue out in front while I was smoking a cigarette.
Okay, let's go to the guild.
Anyway.
All right, I'm going to show these shots of the guild.
Oh, Henry Kaiser was, yeah.
Oh yeah, he's really good too. So this has got some incredible people on it, and my phone number is still the same that's on this list, which is 30 years old. So I'm kind of proud of that.
Mine's not.
But everybody else, I mean, there's Glenn McKay, Jerry Abrams.
This is like the re whatever of the Light Show Guild, right? This is like the restart of it, or.
Well,
and this guy,
I'll take some responsibility for this. I mean, I was like 10 years younger than these hippie guys. I was 10 years older than these kind of raver kids. So I felt like I was kind of responsible to introduce them to each other.
Right.
Like after like Walter and George had kind of done some Toontown stuff, and it was started to converge and realize that there really was a new market for this, kind of outside of that nostalgic kind of hippie thing.
Right.
Kind of got over. It was like, here's a new market, here's a new venue. Like Glenn was coming out and doing like acid jazz shows, and so it was kind of a new emergence and a chance for Light Show to kind of show its next evolutionary step.
Right. And so you restarted the Light Show Guild.
It was a way for us to, well, first of all, have community.
Yeah.
And second of all, like promoters would be like calling down a list of phone numbers looking for a lowest bid. And they didn't care about artistic content at all. So it was kind of a little bit a way to protect ourselves from that.
Right. Good.
Like they didn't give a shit what your show looked like. They just wanted a show.
This is before the internet too. Okay, this is before the internet, so it's hard to get a hold of.
That was around the age of bulletin boards.
We still met at bars and cafes. Yeah, I mean, it was bulletin boards. It was like green screens, bulletin boards, and emails. I mean, actually, Toontown did an event that was really interesting because they did no printed publicity at all and did only an email only invite, and like 1,000 people showed it. Okay.
Oh wow.
So this guy Tim Pace here, I'm going to break in for a second. Tim Pace, I saw it on the list, and then Steve goes, "Yeah, we need some more East Coast guys." And I worked with him in DC doing Allman Brothers, and so I called him up. He's going to do one of our coming up shows. So just amazing that I found him on your list here. Just awesome.
Yeah.
I was cleaning the garage. Okay.
So here's kind of a close up, and then here's another one. So that's pretty cool. Let's go back to just you guys here and talk some more about your experience. I thought it was kind of fun shot. How about you, Donovan? What do you got?
It really does take it takes a village with all this. Really, there's a lot of people that contributed and worked with me over the years, as well as doing other people's shows. For a while, I had a guy named Mark Herrera who was making corporate slideshows, and he really helped. He was my photo department really, because I was not a good, like when I first started doing light shows, I didn't even have a camera, I had projectors for doing sign work. But I didn't have a camera at all. I made all my slides at the Kinko's Copies, where I could trade some weed to make as many transparencies as I wanted, And so I had this guy, Mark Herrera, who watched what I was doing in the clubs and kind of said like, "Oh, I could help with this," And then John Matthews, who was a sound guy at the Oasis, he watched me flarping around for probably a year or something, and then he kind of he saw the direction things were turning towards a sort of dance and electronic culture, and and he helped to tech things out for me a lot, and that made a huge difference in my being able to do a road show where I could go in a venue and set up quickly and stuff, which was incredibly helpful. And we really worked on keeping the community together. I worked at an underground party in San Jose where all my gear got confiscated as evidence by the police for 3 months. They kept all the stuff.
What?
Oh God.
And at the time I was doing 5 nights a week working in the club.
Man.
Oh man.
And fortunately, the nice people, Reed kind of talked to Craig Valentine and the other folks at Toontown and got me in. There was an extra thing doing film on top of his shows, which made it so I was able to pay my rent for that 3 months, really, which was like a life saving, you know. And we ended up doing quite a bunch of good shows during that time. But we all really worked to kind of, help each other out a lot. You know, the video guys that I come across, they certainly aren't like, recommending each other and bringing each other in on gigs. That's for sure. And but we really had a good sense of that, I think. And in those days, also the promoters thought of the light show as one of the things they had to have for production. Like somehow when it switched over to being like cheap, everyone having laptops and video projectors became a lot cheaper when it wasn't like renting a Teleria for the big show or something. When that stuff became commonplace, it sort of killed the market because everyone had like a friend that would do something on the volunteer level or close to it.
Right.
And it took a good decade for people to realize there was a difference. And and during that time, they kind of like every time I tried to book a show with someone, they'd be acting like paying me was coming out of their pocket or something. It was no longer like thought of as part of the cost of doing business. Which is,
I'm gonna stop and do a public service announcement. Don't do shows for free. It kills it for everybody. It lowers the value of it. It fucks everybody over. You work hard. Your work is valuable. Get paid. They're making money, so you make money.
You know, our last show, John Brand did the same thing with Pete and I and helped us and Phyllis and people. And so, you know, the light show guys that want to help each other are the ones I like to work with. You know, it's I call it a brotherhood, not in the name of my company, but just in general. You know, sisterhood, brotherhood.
Working together. What's the point of like competing or working against each other when you can that just takes energy away from making good art, you know, and you can dedicate that to helping each other out, and it pays off exponentially rather than just one person trying to, you know, compete.
You come up with so much more. I think it becomes something much larger through the group effort. You know?
Absolutely.
And we come up with things that we would never be able to come up with on our own. I think Jerry, that's one thing that I really have to say, give a tip of the hat to Jerry, because he was very much about the collaborative effort and push that with all of us.
Yeah.
That's one thing I did learn from him, you know?
Can I take us back all on the, are we done with the slideshow, Chris? Can I put us all four?
And then we're running around 50 minutes right now.
But I figured this is actually a good segue to, you know, since we're talking about, you know, collaboration, let's just get us all back on the screen and you know, we got a few minutes left to shoot the shit, and you know, it's been really great having you guys on the show. I mean, this is awesome. I want to do another one. I definitely want to have you guys back. This is a lot of fun.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Let Reed talk here. What do you got to say there, buddy?
Oh, I don't know. We kind of missed like 5 years of my early career before Jerry, but that's another story. I'm not offended, but no, the Light Show Guild was really an important moment that we worked together as a community and pushed our art form forward and made it into something. It was in demand. It was a product that was in demand. It's now a requirement, where at the time it just wasn't. You know, you could just have a mirror ball, you know. So, you know, we made it a requirement. And if nothing else, if that's all I've ever done, then I'm happy.
I just want to say one thing that Carl Cohen told me. There's this hot shot light show guy down in San Jose named Donovan, and you should check him out. So that was back then, man. You know, the word was out that you were the shit, man. So it's cool.
I met him at Reed's place there, and he was very nice, and he said, you know, are you making a living? And I said, yeah. He goes, are you happy with what you're doing? You feel good about it? I go, yeah. And he goes, people like keep telling you that, you know, encouraging you. And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, don't listen to what anyone else says. It sounds like you're on the right course. that
You
meant a
met
lot to me.
Carl
That
at
was
my
really cool.
place? Really?
Yeah, he was
You
at
met
the
Carl at my house?
at that meeting,
Okay.
yeah. And I mean, I knew he wasn't
Well, that
into
warehouse
some of his
space,
film stuff.
that warehouse space on Bush Street was quite a vortex for a lot of things. A lot of things happened there.
Indeed, it was.
Yeah.
The first
Yeah.
community party was there, which is really like.
Well, it was a
Oh,
great
yeah.
experimental environment for me. I did like performance art things and PFS rehearsed there. We had bands coming in and out of there. I had a 4-track recording studio in the other room and a dark room over there. And it was quite a creative
That was on Bush
beehive
Street.
for a little while.
No,
Yeah.
it was Bush.
Bush and
Yeah.
Pope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's across from that rock and roll hotel and next to the, I don't know, is the bagel deli still there? I don't know.
I worked on
I
the.
haven't been there in years.
I worked on that hotel.
It was across the street from the worst smelling parking garage in the world.
It's another story. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Rudy's Rock and Roll
Yeah, that's another
Hotel.
story.
I actually did plans for that place.
One thing that I think that, you know, like we were the sort of the, at least for me, I felt like I was like the bastard cousin of corporate AV shows and stuff like that, because that's professional wasn't what I was when I started. You know, I mean, I kind of got there after a while through trial by fire mostly, but that was more part of like, it was sort of like, I think more closely related to like the salon kind of scene, which they had in, you know, the earlier incarnations of surrealists and stuff like that. I did a lot of shows at coffee shops and even places like that, at places that were unconventional place to have projections. And out my back window onto the church that was behind where I lived. I worked on that for about a year, trying to just, you know, keep myself amused and show offensive things on the church. And people would walk by and see it, and, you know, stop what they were doing and stuff like that. And I mean, that's more this like kind of where my roots were, and they're still there, which was with the DIY thing and all that. You were talking about Winston Tong of Tuxedo Moon, who I still work with, and he's a puppeteer who won an Obie for some of his work, Bound Feet, and
I saw his Little Mermaid play at Eureka Theater. That was awesome.
And I'm going to be doing a thing on the 27th from F8. It's going to be on their live stream thing. We have a green screen where it's mostly DJ content, but we're going to play some music and show some videos. And Winston's going to bring out his puppets.
This is April
we're going to
20.
do some puppet stuff with a green screen behind it, which should be pretty interesting.
Oh, I love it.
April 27.
Yeah,
You know,
the 27th.
I've got 18 feet of green
Tuesday of the
screen
month.
in my garage if you need it.
They have a lovely green screen set up there, and it's all good to go. I can just walk in with a thumb drive, and he'll bring the puppets out. Patty Smith and others.
I want to reference that, like the underground theater scene in San Francisco has kind of always been there. It's never been like on the top of the attention span, but it's kind of always been there, and it's kind of always been inspirational for me. And what a great place to borrow and be inspired from in terms of light show. You know?
And absolutely,
and you know, you can reapply ideas here and there. It's all just like one, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when
the
I
whole
got to
ecosystem of San Francisco was just beautiful. I really thrived in it.
Yeah, when I moved there, you guys doing the Kennel Club really stoked me, and then George Coates, and then
absolutely.
We were doing the I-Beam. George Coates does these real cool plays for the audience that doesn't know. But anyway, let's wrap this thing up right now, and maybe we'll do a part 2 or something down the road here. How's that sound, guys?
Well, we should just maybe get together and talk.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What do you say, Steve?
Yeah, well, I mean, thanks so much, guys, for taking the time out to talk to us. I really enjoyed this, and I learned so much, you know. I mean, I knew you guys did a lot of work, but I don't think I quite until now actually, you know, sunk in like just how prolific you guys were and diverse, and how much, you know, just the variety of work that you guys done. So it's really cool to learn all that, and it's inspiring me. So that's pretty cool.
One thing which, in closing, for me at least, with the younger shows and people coming up, get billing. That will help you more than anything else you can do. Is to make sure people know the name. How the bands help you get that if you need to, whatever it takes. Because I mean, at one point I had a residency in Hawaii, in Los Angeles and New York. And I got that because I had billing and people knew who was doing it, you know?
Right.
And that can turn into you getting a much better wage out of it than if they don't know who did it, if they just think it's the walls or whatever else.
Right. Or
So
the
that's
band.
my advice to any young shows is get billing.
Yeah.
I
Very good
I couldn't
advice.
agree. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Some words of wisdom.
Okay, well, let's sign
All right.
off here, guys.
All right.
Fiat Lux.
Okay. Thank
All right.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
See ya.
Yeah. See you guys.